Greetings, my fellow Jedi and Sith companions. I wanted to do kind of a little special video for me and to help you guys out a little bit too on recognizing a vintage graflex. Now, of course, once you find one, chances are you're not going to have the grips on them and probably no clamp card as well. But, you know, I had to do it. I mean, it's part of the conversion process. I mean, there's only so many of these vintage graflexes in the world, so this is my personal vintage graflex. My first one, and the weathering on it, the natural weathering, it's beautiful. I mean, it's got the rust spots on the clamp. It's got that dirt and grime in between the letters. You can see a little bit there near the clamp washer. There wasn't a whole lot on the bottom part, but there was still a lot of weathering from where, you know, it's from the 1930s, so yeah, the sucker's old. And this camera does not do it justice. But you can actually see a lot of the weathering on it, and it's just so beautiful. Oh, I love it. I love showing it off. Prized piece of my collection, even above my Vader's vault. There's so much nostalgia there. Well, anyways, and of course the bottom clamp, you gotta see that. But yeah, without further ado, so I did put the Wanawanga grips on here, professionally milled out by Matthew Dooley on Facebook, and excellent work. He did a fantastic job on these, even had the rivets for it, because I'm going TFA on this one. But anyways, without further ado, one of the first signs that I've seen a lot of people mention for a vintage is the stamp. So the numbers should read 2310-165. Okay, that's cool. And some of them might say manufactured by Graflex, might say manufactured by Fulmer. So the Fulmers are a little more, how shall you say, expensive? Rare? Cat's wanting to play. I'm trying to make a video here. Ginger, come on. But the stamping is also different from a replica. I believe this stamping is a little more defined, or it's a little more, I might say, well contrasted. I'm not sure exactly. But you'll also notice that around there, you can see where the grips kind of meet. It's a little rounded. It's like it's tapered almost slightly. And whenever you install these grips, go away, Ginger, go away. Whenever you install these grips, you will notice that there's a little bit of play there. That's good because you need that for it to slide off, obviously. And you'll notice there's a little gap there, and there's that little gap right there. That's how it's supposed to be, to my knowledge. The clamp lever should be flush. I think the replicas have like maybe a little notch there or a hole there or something, but I feel like this video will be good for you know, all the replicas that are coming out. They're only getting better too. And another thing, there's a lot of tell signs on these. The G and the X should be flush with those two holes. So the X is also in line. On the replicas, it'll be spaced a little farther apart, and it won't be in line. Also, the spacing of the words Graflex is also another thing to consider. As far as exactly how the spacing is supposed to be, I'm not sure. But moving on, also notice that on the rivet, that will also be tapered around the edge. You'll also be able to tell that on the rivet there is kind of a center point, and the beer tab should be completely straight, not bent or anything like Corban's is. And the button should, of course, be a darker red, like a cherry red. And you should be able to see machining marks around that lip, and the steep on it also should be same as a vintage. I don't know. I think there is a slight difference on the steepness of going from that lip inward. There's a difference there. So, of course, it should have this sliding tab for the on and off for the light. And naturally, there's going to be like a small scratch mark from where it was used, of course. And you'll notice the electrical pins. They are old, not new. They are like a smoother type tip. Of course, they're not. I think I'm pretty sure they're brass contacts, but you can tell they're old. They've been used, custom weathered by age. It's beautiful. You'll see these little tabs right next to the screw. Should be a tab on each side. The screw should be like it is here. I have yet to unscrew that once, so that's how it came to me. I see all of them being angled instead of like straight horizontal or up and down vertical. Glass eye, of course, bulb on the inside. Glass eye, there are some tell signs to a vintage glass eye as well. I believe it's kind of the same thing as the push or the switch, push button, whatever. I believe the steepness around it matters. I can't be 100% certain on that one. All I know is that I posted it on Facebook to make sure it was the genuine article, and yeah, genuine article, and I can't believe I won it still. Moving forward, there's not too many more tell signs. On the inside, this is going to be goofy to get to. On the inside, there's a little screw right where my finger's rubbing. Yeah, there it is. There's like a little, supposed to be a rivet screw, I believe, of some sort. There's one on both sides. So that side does not have a screw in it, that side does. So I think as long as those holes are there for the screws, yeah, it's a rivet for sure. On this side that has it, it looks like a very small rivet. So that's another tell sign. Another tell sign, the spring-loaded bulb socket should be spring-loaded. Duh. Also, you'll also notice the S-curve on it. It's very defined, very, very defined. It's well machined, very well machined. Like I've noticed on some Corbants, you'll see like machine marks all the way over, and it looks like trash. But you never notice it until you know it. Really, like got my first graflex, Corbant 2.0, loved it, thought it was amazing. And I mean, I never noticed the machine marks until I got a vintage. And a lot of other tell signs. Last but not least, of course, those friggin' bunny ears. You gotta love them. The friggin' bunny ears. You'll notice that these are usually shorter than a replica of some replicas anyways. And I believe they're also a little thicker. And of course they need to be at that, angle instead of like, pushed way out or squeezed in super tight. It's supposed to be in line. I guess you could say with the push button. Yeah, you could say that. Directly in sync with the push button. Not bad. And the rivet should be a standard, looks like an 1/8 inch rivet, flat dome top. And most of them are threaded is what I'm getting at there. And mine isn't sticking out too far, you can see it's sticking out just a hair, like a 32nd of an inch maybe. And of course the washer that the rivet goes over, that should not look brand new. Another tell sign. Push button, threads out. Should be electrical pins in there. I'm wondering, you know, it should be the kind of 90-degree square for the top one. Maybe I can't be 100% sure on that, but I know that those electrical contacts should be in there for it to be vintage. So there's a lot of tell signs, and I mean the replicas are only getting better as time goes by. So I mean, and naturally, you know, inside there should be a spring. I already took it out because there's a ploop, it's out. I mean, there's typical stuff there. And of course, on the inside of this, you'll have screws for the bowl and contacts, all that good jazz, all the beauty of a vintage. That's all the tell signs I can think of off the top of my head. I'm hoping that this helps somebody in the future who is looking into buying a vintage, because there's no feeling quite like it. There's no feeling quite like owning a flash gun that came from a 1930s graflex speed graphic, I believe, that was also used in the production of the very first Star Wars movie and into The Empire Strikes Back and the most recent TFA and The Last Jedi. So vintages were used for all that. So it's kind of a surreal feeling when you first get it. And you know, granted, you know, you're gotta pay a pretty penny for these. I mean, I ended up getting this. I'm not going to disclose that information. You can go on eBay and find them and figure out the price yourself. They're not cheap. But yeah, highly recommend that for anybody. Naturally, you want to go into this knowing that you're going to put a big investment into it because it's a freaking vintage, man. You're going to be putting, you know, the best of the best in it. I mean, I'm not going to spend what I paid for this and get a $50 chassis for it with a Nano Biscotti. Hell no. Gonna get Graflex Vintage Master chassis with mostly metal parts, crystal focus, 28mm 2-watt 4-ohm bass speaker, you know, all the bells and whistles. That deserves all the bells and whistles. Naturally, I mean, you know, stepping away from the technical side of it, it's all worth it, man. It really is. But anyways, I hope this video helped. And until the next time, my fellow Jedi and Sith companions, may the Force be with you always.